Go back 70 years to the 1940s and 1950s and look at the photographs. People who had none of what you have. No $30 shampoos, no serums, no clinics, no transplants, no supplements aisle. They had a bathroom cabinet with maybe 4 things in it, and hair that most people today would pay a fortune for. So, what did they know that we forgot? Here's the uncomfortable answer. The things they did cost pennies. Many of them genuinely worked, and modern science can now explain exactly why. And they disappeared for one very simple reason. There's no money in telling you to rinse your hair with something already in your kitchen. Today, I'm going to walk you through 6 hair practices from that era, from good to most powerful, and explain the real science behind each one. Stay with me to the end, because the 6th one is the one doctors actually prescribed by name back then. It sat in nearly every American medicine cabinet, and modern research has circled all the way back around to proving they were right. Your doctor has probably never mentioned any of this, not because they are hiding it, because appointments are too short, and nobody has time for history. I'm Dr. Alan Brooks. I have spent 35 years as a board-certified dermatologist focused on hair and scalp, and more than 10,000 patients have sat across my desk. And I will admit something that took me a long time to learn. Early in my career, I would have waved most of this away as sentimental nonsense, the kind of thing people romanticize about the past. What changed my mind was watching the research catch up, decade after decade, and finding real mechanisms sitting underneath practices I had dismissed. And watching patients get results from things that cost almost nothing, after spending years on products that cost a great deal. So I stopped being snobbish about it, and started paying attention to what actually held up. This channel is where I say what I never have time to say in a 15-minute visit. Maybe you are here because you have looked at those old photographs too, at your mother or your grandmother, and wondered how their hair stayed so thick when they had so little to work with. Or because you're simply tired of expensive promises that go nowhere. That instinct is sound. There is real, tested wisdom in how people cared for their hair before an industry existed, to sell them the answer, and a great deal of it has been quietly buried, not because it stopped working, but because it stopped being profitable. But before we start, let me give you the honest version, because I am not going to pretend the past was perfect. Plenty of what people did back then was useless, and some of it was genuinely harmful. They used harsh lye-based soaps, they permed with brutal chemicals, and some old remedies could burn a scalp badly. Nostalgia is not evidence, and none of what I am about to give you will reverse advanced genetic baldness or bring back a follicle that has truly died. And anyone telling you a vintage trick can do that is selling you a story. What these practices do, and do well, is protect and strengthen the hair you have, and create the kind of scalp environment that hair grows well in. Within that honest scope, several of them outperform products costing 50 times as much. So let us take the good and leave the rest. Let me start with the single biggest difference between then and now, and it explains half of this list. In the 1950s, people did not wash their hair every day. Most washed it once a week, sometimes less. Daily shampooing is a modern invention, driven almost entirely by advertising, because a company that convinces you to wash daily sells you 7 times more shampoo. And here is why that shift matters more than almost anything else. Your scalp produces a natural oil called sebum, and sebum is not the enemy. It is your hair's built-in conditioner and its protective barrier, traveling down the strand, sealing the cuticle, and keeping the fiber flexible so it bends instead of snapping. When you strip that oil away every single day with detergent, your scalp panics and overproduces to compensate, which makes your hair greasy faster, which makes you wash more, which strips more. It is a loop the industry benefits from at every turn. Meanwhile, your hair spends its entire life without its natural protection, dry and brittle and breaking. Think of sebum as the wax on a wooden table. Strip it every day and the wood dries out and splits. Leave it, and the surface stays sealed and strong. Now, this does not mean never washing, and some people genuinely need to wash more often. But washing 2 or 3 times a week rather than daily, with a gentle shampoo, lets your natural protection do the job it evolved to do. That single change, which our grandmothers did without thinking, is the foundation everything else on this list rests on. Number 5 is the Boar bristle brushing ritual. And here, I have to separate the wisdom from the myth, because both come from this era. The myth is the 100 strokes a night, which does not stimulate growth and, on aging hair, causes breakage. Retire that one. But the real practice underneath it was sound. Natural boar bristle closely resembles human hair in structure, and brushing gently from the scalp down the length physically distributes that sebum we just talked about. Carrying your natural conditioner from the roots, where it accumulates, all the way to the ends, where it is desperately needed. That is why hair in old photographs has that particular deep, even shine. It was not a product, it was oil, moved by hand. The common mistake is either brushing aggressively or using a cheap plastic brush with sharp-tipped bristles that tear the cuticle and snap strands. So here is the right way. Use a genuine boar bristle brush. Brush gently, from scalp to ends, for a minute or 2, and never on soaking wet hair, which is when the strand is at its most fragile. It costs one purchase and lasts years, and it conditions your hair with something your own body makes for free. Number 4 is the warm castor oil treatment, which sat in nearly every medicine cabinet of that era. Used for everything from constipation to hair. Castor oil is unique in the plant world because roughly 90% of it is a single unusual fatty acid called ricinoleic acid, and early research suggests ricinoleic acid may interact with receptors in the scalp, involved in the signaling that keeps follicles in their growth phase. It is also intensely conditioning and helps seal moisture into a dry strand. Our grandmothers warmed it, worked it into the scalp, wrapped their head in a cloth, and slept in it. The mistake, and it is the reason most people quit within 2 weeks, is using castor oil straight from the bottle. It has nearly the consistency of honey, so it sits on the surface, clogs, and takes 3 washes to remove. Here is the correct method. Mix 1 part castor oil with 4 parts of a lighter carrier like grapeseed or olive oil. Warm it gently in a bowl of hot water until it is comfortably warm, never hot. Then part your hair and apply it to the scalp. Massage for 5 minutes. Protect your pillow. Leave it overnight. And wash it out in the morning. Twice a week is plenty. Old ritual. Real mechanism. Now the 2 rinses, and this is where it gets genuinely interesting, because these 2 solved a specific problem that women of that era faced, and it turns out we have quietly recreated the same problem in a modern form. But first, do something for me. Type in the comments which of these your own mother or grandmother did, and whether you ever tried it yourself. And tell me your age. I suspect a lot of these memories are about to come flooding back for people, and it is worth seeing how many families were doing the same things independently. Number 3 is the beer rinse, and I know exactly how that sounds, but stay with me, because there is real substance to it. Beer is made from malted barley and hops, and it contains proteins from the grain, along with B vitamins and silica. When poured through the hair as a rinse, those proteins temporarily bind to the hair shaft and fill in the microscopic gaps and rough spots along a damaged cuticle, which smooths the surface, adds body, and makes the strand look and feel thicker. That is not folklore. That is the same principle behind modern protein treatments that cost $30 a bottle. It also adds shine, because a smoothed cuticle reflects light evenly. The mistakes are simple, but they ruin it. Do not use cold, freshly opened, fizzy beer, because the carbonation is unpleasant and the alcohol is drying. Instead, pour it out and let it go flat and reach room temperature first, which lets the alcohol dissipate and leaves the proteins behind. Then, after shampooing, pour it slowly through your hair, work it in, leave it a couple of minutes, and rinse it out with cool water, which also removes the smell. Once every week or two is plenty, because too much protein can make hair stiff. It is a genuine protein treatment for the price of a can. Number 2 is the vinegar rinse, and this one deserves real respect because it solved a problem people back then had no choice about. Here is the history that makes it click. In that era, many people washed with actual soap, and soap is alkaline, and it reacts with the minerals in water to leave a dull, sticky film on the hair, the same soap scum you see in a bathtub. Their solution was elegant and cheap. A splash of vinegar in a jug of water, poured through as a final rinse. Vinegar is acidic, so it dissolves that alkaline film instantly and restores the hair and scalp to their naturally slightly acidic state, which is where the cuticle lies flattest and the scalp is healthiest. The result is hair that is instantly smoother, shinier, and easier to comb. And here is why this is not a museum piece. If you live with hard water, which most of America does, you have exactly the same mineral film building on your hair right now, and this same rinse dissolves it. The mistake people make is using vinegar undiluted, which is far too harsh on the scalp. The right way is 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar in a full cup of water, poured through as the very last step after conditioning, left for a moment, then rinsed briefly with cool water. The smell disappears completely as your hair dries. Once a week transforms dull, coated hair, and it costs almost nothing. And now, number 1, the one doctors actually prescribed by name in that era, and the one that pays off everything I promised you at the start. Cod liver oil. Physicians in the 1940s and 1950s recommended it routinely, and mothers gave it by the spoonful to entire generations of children, and the hair and skin benefits were considered common knowledge. It fell out of fashion mostly because it tasted unpleasant, and because the culture drifted toward pills and away from old-fashioned tonics. So why does it belong at the top of this list? Because of what is actually in it. Cod liver oil is one of the richest natural sources of vitamin D, along with vitamin A and omega-3 fatty acids. And here is where modern research circles all the way back around. We now know that hair follicles contain vitamin D receptors, docking stations built specifically to receive it, and that vitamin D plays a direct role in signaling dormant follicles to begin a new growth cycle. Vitamin D deficiency is one of the most common and most overlooked contributors to thinning hair in adults over 50, precisely because our skin makes far less of it from sunlight as we age, and the omega-3 fatty acids reduce inflammation and support a healthy scalp barrier. So that spoonful, which people took for general vigor without understanding the mechanism, was delivering exactly the nutrients we now know follicles depend on. Let me tell you about Margaret, 64, a patient of mine, whose hair had thinned noticeably over several years. She mentioned, almost as a joke, that her mother used to line the children up for cod liver oil every winter morning, and that she had hated it. When we ran her blood work, her vitamin D was well below the healthy range, which fit her perfectly, indoor work and long gray winters. We corrected it properly with her physician's guidance. Over the following months, her shedding settled, and new growth came in along her part, and she said with a smile that her mother had been right all along and she owed her an apology. The mistake here is dismissing old tonics as quaint. Do not start high-dose supplements on your own, because vitamin A and vitamin D are both fat-soluble and can build up to harmful levels. So this is one to test and correct with your doctor. But the principle her mother followed was sound 70 years before the studies existed. So here is exactly how to bring the best of this into your routine, step by step. And let me add one more small practice before the plan. One so simple it barely counts. But it was universal back then, and it is nearly free. The cold final rinse. Women of that era finished every wash with the coldest water they could stand, and they were not doing it for toughness. Warm water swells the hair and lifts those cuticle scales open, which is fine for cleaning. But if you step out of the shower with the cuticle still raised, your hair dries rough, dull, and prone to tangling and snapping. A cold rinse at the very end contracts and flattens those scales back down, sealing the strand, which is why hair rinsed cold looks visibly shinier and combs more easily. It takes 15 seconds, it costs nothing, and it is the single cheapest improvement to shine and manageability that exists. Fold it into every wash from now on. Now the plan. Start with the foundation, which is washing less. Move to 2 or 3 washes a week with a gentle, sulfate-free shampoo, and give your scalp a couple of weeks to stop overproducing oil, because there is an adjustment period. Add the Boar bristle brushing, gently, once a day on dry hair, to carry your natural oils down the strand. Once or twice a week, do the warm castor oil treatment overnight, properly diluted. Once a week, choose a rinse. The vinegar rinse if your hair feels coated and dull, which is the more useful of the two for most people. Or the beer rinse if your hair feels weak and needs body. And finally, ask your doctor to check your vitamin D level rather than guessing, and correct it under their guidance if you are low. 2 practical tips. First, do not try all 6 at once, because if something irritates you, you will have no idea which one it was. Add 1 practice a week. Second, always patch test anything new behind your ear and wait a day, because natural does not mean everyone tolerates it. One thing, doctor to viewer, before you begin. These practices support healthier, stronger hair and a better scalp, but they are not a treatment for pattern hair loss, hormonal hair loss, or any medical condition, and they cannot revive a follicle that has genuinely died. Do not take high-dose vitamin A or D supplements without testing, because both can accumulate and cause real harm. And if your hair is falling out suddenly in patches or alongside other symptoms, please see a dermatologist in person, because that deserves a proper evaluation rather than a vintage remedy. I am a doctor, but I am not your doctor. Now, one last honest word, because this is the part that I think matters most. I'm not telling you the past was better, and I am not telling you to throw out modern medicine, because modern medicine has given us genuinely powerful treatments that no vinegar rinse can match. What I am telling you is narrower and, I think, more useful. Somewhere along the way, an entire industry grew up around selling you the answer in a bottle, and in the noise of that, a set of cheap, simple, effective practices got buried, not because they failed, but because nobody could profit from them. Your grandmother was not doing magic. She was distributing her natural oils, restoring her hair's acidity, feeding her body vitamin D, and leaving her scalp alone long enough to look after itself. That is sound dermatology, arrived at through generations of observation rather than a laboratory. Give these a fair trial, and give them months rather than days, because hair grows about ½ inch a month, and no practice on this list works overnight. Because this was never only about hair. It is about recognizing that the best answer is not always the most expensive one, and that some of what we lost was worth keeping. So pick one of these to try this week, and come back and tell me in the comments which one your family used, and whether you are going to bring it back. Type your age too. I read every single one. Take care of yourself. I will see you in the next one.